Hey guys, my name is Olivia. So I've lived in Chicago for about 6 to 7 months, and I moved here by myself from Atlanta, having lived in Atlanta for about 15 to almost 16 years of my life, so a good chunk of my life. I would definitely say Atlanta is the city that raised me, more or less. So definitely wanted to talk about my experience pretty much leaving my hometown, moving to a whole new city, and starting from literally zero. So yes, definitely like, comment, subscribe to my channel. I'll be having a lot of content just about growing up and being in your late 20s and navigating all of it. So my experience living alone has definitely had very highs, some middle, and definitely some lows. But before I get any further, grab you something to drink. We're gonna be talking about some alone time. Yes, Lord. I feel like on the internet, a lot of people glamorize the idea of living alone. The percentage of people who live by themselves is the highest it's ever been since the inception of this world. So definitely lots of interesting perspectives and conversations around the idea of being single, living single, being solo. Definitely my experience adding a twist of living alone and living in a city where you literally know pretty much no one definitely adds a layer of complications. So let me just back it up real quick so you can understand my life and how everything's kind of been playing out. So let me just start from the beginning. So like I said earlier, I lived in Atlanta for a good chunk of my life. Once I graduated college and I lived in like an apartment for a few months, and I broke my lease and then bought a home and lived there. I did all of that from the first apartment to moving into my home. I did that with my boyfriend at the time. So I wasn't alone then. And then we eventually broke up, and I had a few months to myself before my brother decided to live with me after he graduated from college. And we lived together for over a year. By the time we stopped living together was the time that I decided to move to Chicago. So ultimately, the only time I truly lived by myself was for like 3 months between my ex leaving and my brother moving in. So with all that juicy detail about my life, practically I never really lived by myself. And to compare those few months of living by myself in a city that I had friends versus me now living by myself for almost 7 months, being in a city where I know almost nobody, is definitely a big difference. And I feel like a lot of times the internet glamorizes the concept of living alone, and it really does have some pros and some cons for sure. I definitely believe that everyone should have time for themselves, to be by themselves, to thrive by themselves, to figure out who they are. A lot of times that comes with being by yourself. I do wonder sometimes, is this narrative of living alone and being alone the most healthiest narrative simply because we don't have a lot of evidence from the past of this really being something that people enjoy, just because most households were not single households. And at this large rate of people being in a single household, I do wonder if this is what we were made to really do. In the beginning, not gonna lie, it was very hard. And even now, I have like very hard moments of being by myself and not having the community to back me up with being solo. But I definitely will say that the pros and the cons weigh itself so much that they're on a neutral scale for me. So what I would say is that the silence is louder when you live by yourself. The silence is louder when you live by yourself only because you know that the silence is not going to change unless you change your situation, your environment, your mindset. In the past, I can be silent all I want. I can stay to myself all I want, but eventually somebody's going to break that silence. In the past, for example, whether it was my ex or my brother, like somebody was going to interrupt the silence somehow, some way. And so knowing that in the back of my head was always just like easy to navigate my state of loneliness or aloneness, really, because I feel like loneliness is a mentality and aloneness is just a state of where you're at. Having to be the one to put in the work to seek connections. I always wonder, when we were younger, we never felt like, when we were like really young, like kindergarten, elementary school, whatever, there was this feeling of like, yeah, I don't know nobody in this new school I moved to, but like, I'm always figure it out, you know? But it's so interesting now that I'm here in this state of my life, I'm like, oh, how do I make a friend? Like, where is that life skill? Because I clearly received that life skill in the past because I have many friends in Georgia, but where is that life skill when I really need it in a place of the unknown? I'm telling you, it's like so difficult. And it's so interesting because it puts me back into my own spirit, back into perspective. Like, am I really the extrovert that I thought I was? Because I'm finding it very hard to build connections here in Chicago. And I just never had that be a reality for myself in the past. So it's something that I'm definitely navigating. And especially when I get into those moments of like realizing that I'm really here alone, I literally go in a state of like, oh my gosh, did I really just move here with nobody that I know here? Sometimes, like, am I crazy? However, I really do love the decision that I made, but it definitely comes with some weight, okay? Another big thing that I learned living alone in a new state of mind with nobody around, definitely that no matter how dope a location is, no matter how awesome the vibes are, things are around, there's a vibe here, there's a good restaurant here, there's this going on, that going on, life is just flourishing with the things around you. No matter how good that is, like, if you don't have someone to share that with, after a while, solo dates get real tiring. And this is all Olivia perspective. If you don't feel this way, I'm happy for you, sis or bro. But honestly, for me, like, I love a good solo date. Trust me, I do. But in moderation, just like anything else. And I feel like I'm hitting a wall of like, I passed the moderation line and now I'm going into I'm trying to make solo dating cute, but really it's just because I have nobody. And that might be hard to say and put online. I really feel somebody needs to hear that because I really feel like that I'm hitting some truth over on the other side of this camera. Because honestly, what I've learned is that living in places like this where there's an abundance of things to do, it reminds me of how alone I am and how certain experiences just don't feel the same anymore because I'm doing it by myself. And so sometimes I wonder, is that me needing to work on myself? Is that some like healing thing I need to do? Or is that simply because I'm not made to do things alone? So it's a delicate dance I'm trying to figure out. But definitely something to keep in mind if you are planning on moving somewhere or going somewhere where nobody's around, you're going to have to start from zero and you're going to live alone. But with all of that being said, I really do enjoy living alone because I have now learned things about myself that I never knew about myself. Like, couldn't even put that on me, kind of learning about myself, right? So I really do value this time alone to really make myself realize and come to terms with the fact that I need to learn more about myself. And I know that statement will never really reach to the end of its entirety because we have our whole lifetime to figure out who we are. But definitely, I'm learning more things about myself at a faster rate than I did before I moved here, for sure. Also, I'm learning that a place that you move to is not going to bring you constant joy. A place that you move to bring you closer to finding more moments of joy. But having a constant flow of joy is not the reality. A lot of times we have like bigger picture in our head of what moving to a new city, moving to a new town may look like, and what can come from it. Obviously, balancing your dreams of what it is, what it could be, with the reality of what it is can definitely be discouraging at times. So I definitely recommend like going in with high expectations, but also being prepared to be let down at the same time. I don't want to be pessimistic about that topic. However, it's the reality for me. And honestly, is the state of constant joy really what you're striving for? Because to me, if I was always going up in life with joy, how will I even know I'm continuously going up? I have to sometimes have moments of down so I can feel that flow of up. I don't strive for a constant state of joy anymore. I strive for a steady stream where things go down, tides go up, tides go down, and just being grateful for it all. I would definitely say the last thing that I learned, being by myself, living by myself amongst nobody, is the beauty of having no expectations from your loved ones, the ones around you, the people that have been watching you, growing with you, whatever. I always tell my parents, it might be a little extreme, but I always tell my parents, no expectation is the expectation, okay? Maybe it's the middle child in me, but I truly believe that to be true. I am a Jamaican American first gen, and coming from Jamaican parents, a lot of times there can be like pressures to kind of show up in the world in a certain way. And I definitely just want to show up as myself, show up doing things I want to do. A lot of times, like even me moving here, I made a lot of decisions that when I do update my parents and such, they're like, what are you doing? Like, you're absolutely nuts. Even this move to them was like absolutely nuts. Like, are you moving to Chicago, the place where people be shooting? I'm like, chill. Atlanta be doing just as much, child. But anywho, girl, I be having to defend my case like it's clockwork. But I think they're seeing that the life that I want for myself will only be made by myself with the help and advice and the guidance from the people around me. But when all that guidance and all that noise is surrounding my body, I get to pick what comes in or not, you know? So I really value that, and just having the space to be me completely. And so I'm really appreciative of this move that I made here for myself, by myself, but definitely do think about options like, should I go back home and be amongst the people that I know and just do things differently when I go down there with the things that I know of myself now, or do I stay here and keep growing that muscle of being alone and navigating the world of a new city and all that jazz? But definitely wanted to bring that to you all if you all are in this certain state of mind, state of space where you're living alone, or you're planning to live alone, or you're planning on moving across countries, states, whatever, cities, towns, and you're going to be doing it on your own. So definitely don't forget to comment down below. Let me know, where do you plan on moving to and from? And are you excited, nervous? And if you already made the move, what things have you learned about yourself? Or do you feel me on what I was talking about in this video? But all right, guys, it's good talking to you. Bye.